identity. We are specifically in this one poem by W.H. Auden called The Unknown Citizen. And we're just going to be hashing out some questions about identity throughout this poem. So let's get started. We'll start with Ashley. What does the poem say about identity?
So I think that the poem talks about how identity is primarily determined by like what others think about you and like really what's on paper and how people like think about you, and not really any like emotional connections or what you think about yourself, but kind of about like what others think about you.
Katie, how is the information presented?
It's kind of presented in like almost like it's informational. Like you have it starts off saying like he was found by the Bureau of Statistics to be once against whom there was no official complaint. And it's like just basically going straight down a list of basically his life story. So it starts from how they basically, I guess it's saying from towards the end, it's like going back as a storyline that kind of wraps around in a sense.
How do you define identity?
I think identity is defined both how people perceive you, and I think it's also defined by how you perceive yourself and really what you think is your own identity.
It really depends on what form of identity you're kind of like looking at. Like you have societal identity, which is basically like in the poem, you have your working class man who's basically the common man, going off to war, being in the military, having a common job, having a family, all that. But then you also have your own personal identity that you don't always kind of like look at as much because society has such a big impact on you, but your own personal identity is something that you have to find out yourself.
How do outside circumstances affect or alter identity? They affect it and alter, I think, majorly, because you might go through a death in your family. You're not going to be the same person as you were before the death as you are after the death. So for sure, there's a huge alteration in your identity for when outside circumstances happen. How does a unique identity unify us or divide us? Does it do both?
I think a unique identity, I think it celebrates diversity, but then I think it also kind of points out how different we truly are, and we still fight over different things, and we still all have our own opinions, but I think we can also come together and agree on some things that kind of unite us all together as one.
So, how is the poem relevant in today's society concerning identity?
I think it's very relevant today because it's the exact same way. Today when we view people after they've died, or maybe even during their lifetime, and we look at them, we think just primarily what we have is fact. We think about, oh, this is when he was born, this is when he died, this is when he retired, this was his job, that kind of defines him as a person, instead of really like how he made people feel, or like what he truly did with his life. Maybe he thought his own life was remarkable, but we don't see that, just like we don't today.
For sure. Let's take a break, and then we'll hash out some more questions.
This production is brought to you in part by Red Solo Cup. Prepare to party.
And we're back to themes in world literature, where we're hashing out identity in the poem by W.H. Auden, The Unknown Citizen. What illusion or images are present in the poem, and what do they reveal about identity? I think there aren't really any illusions throughout the poem, but there's definitely many, many images throughout it. You can just picture him at work with his co-workers, or him going off to war, and also him being in a hospital. He might be sick, but then he's leaving it well, and his 5 children are described in it. So it's definitely a lot of images are definitely present in it.
Kind of reveals that everybody has kind of a uniform way of doing things, and it's almost like that routine is shown in his own personal identity, if that makes any sense.
Consider the title of the poem, The Unknown Citizen. How does the title of the poem reveal the author's thoughts or identity?
I think it really reveals the fact that while we may think we know somebody, we know all these facts this poem contains, so many facts about his life, you know, when he was born, you know, how many kids he had, like the things he kind of had in his house, but if we don't truly know him, we don't know how he felt on a daily basis, or like the things that made his life extraordinary, you know, like kind of his triumphs, his setbacks, and those kind of things that really make him like human, so we don't truly know him.
For sure, you don't really know his characteristics and the qualities that better himself as a person. What is the challenge of identity through this poem, do you think?
Well, I think the challenge of identity is to be yourself, you know, and even though in the everyday life that you go through each day, you know, to remain true to yourself even through the influences and everything else around you.
Ashley, how do people find their own identity?
I think they find it like through their life experiences, you know, the things they go through, and those things kind of shape their view on like the world and how they think things go and their personal beliefs.
I think the best way to get a hold of your identity would be to go live out in the middle of the woods and be a hermit, find yourself without the influence of major world problems, or any type of like worldly things, because inside of a community, even the slightest bit of like doubt changes who you are, or any of it, not even doubt, but like encouragement or anything can change who you are.
Well, thanks for that talk, guys. I think it was really great.
Yeah, we really hashed out identity through this poem by W.H. Auden, The Unknown Citizen. And next week, you can come back to Themes in World Literature and talk about marriage.